Hello there, my beloved friends. Good morning and good evening to one and all of you, and a warm welcome to all. And it gives me a great pleasure, as always, to stay connected through these online sessions. And we are obviously making a great impact in everyone's life because these are the sessions where you know money cannot buy these kind of topics, and these kind of topics are definitely not something that the mankind considers, and they are very busy. They tend to move on in life, but then they don't stand back and think through um, some of the mistakes and how they could overcome and why those mistakes happens, and the reasons, the analytical study, the introspective study. People don't tend to have that kind of time, and that's a sad truth because all of us are busy by some or other means. All right. um, so here we are meeting with you through yet another topic, and that's really going to help you, is what I firmly believe. And the name of this topic is self-motivation. We covered a little bit on the motivation aspect before, but self-motivation is also very, very important and not to be ignored, to be considered very seriously. Why? Because there is only a thin line of difference between motivation and self-motivation. However, um, when it comes to the real aspect of this motivation, many people think it is not the self motivation. That's exactly why we have called out this session. Why would self motivation be different? That's my first question, right? Self motivation in its simplest form is nothing but it acts like a force, right? That drives you to do things, the ability to motivate yourself, and kind of that's an important skill that the industry lacks, and people don't pay attention because they think it is not going to be very helpful. But self motivation drives people to keep going even in the moments of setbacks and unfortunate incidents, tragic moments, and it helps to take up the opportunities and to show that, exhibit that commitment, that sense of commitment, and you can instill that trust in the people that depend on you, that are looking to you when they come to challenges, when they come to resolve challenges, and you yourself is not having that confidence, then the next time they don't come. And probably that is your role. You're appointed for that kind of job, and you don't tend to have that kind of caliber, so you need to inculcate it. And how to inculcate is what we are trying to see through these sessions, right? Now, many people think the lack of motivation, is it a mental illness? And the sad truth is, yes, it is a mental illness. Now, the lack of motivation or self-motivation is not an inherent sign of mental disorder. You cannot call that it as by itself, but it is often kind of symptomatic, or of clinical depression, right? It is a form of clinical depression, and it can be also told this way, that it's the primary symptom of certain mood disorders. There is a mood swing that's happening, and bipolar depression, and they call it as post-trauma stress syndrome. It is called as PTSD, about which we discussed in other sessions too. Therefore, you can be sure that it's a form of a kind of a mental disorder only. It's a mental illness only, but you don't have to be worried. It's treatable even without medicines. You just need to take few corrective measures. Now, why is motivation needed, and what is the clear indication of one is not going having this motivation? I told you the reasons: mood swings, always depressions. They don't tend to pay attention. They'll easily get defocused, and so many other aspects. Okay, and that's why it's very important to stick to certain aspects of life and have those goals rewinded, right? Now, why is motivation needed? First of all, many people have this question, right? Finding ways to increase motivation is crucial because it allows us to change our behavior, change our lifestyle, change our habitual practices, and develop that competencies, right? And be very creative at the same time, and it'll also help you to reset your goals, and you can rediscover the real who you are, and helps one to grow their interest, right? And capture their interest and also grow their interest. It helps to make plans and develop talents, and it also helps you to develop the network with the people. So many advantages. Only thing is, you need to ensure that you inculcate this habit of finding that motivation in yourself, and it is available within you. Only thing, you have not found it. That is the thing, right? You need to trigger it, you need to activate it, and then the motivation arouses, and then you are a different person. Why is self motivation so important? That is also a question we need to answer. Self motivation is very important because it does not let you depend on others. It builds you as a very, very independent person. And the world can recognize, your boss can recognize, your family can recognize, and they will see the difference. Yeah. And drives you to tap your strengths and meet your goals. It also helps you to ensure your work on your weakness, and it will not allow you to hinder your plans. Yeah. You'll be a very inspiring person, you'll be a very aspiring person. You will press hard towards your goal, you will not sit idle, you will not only be busy, but you will be able to achieve things and keep delivering it in style. That's the key, right? Now, for some people, there are certain reasons why they do not get motivated, or maybe there are causes why they end up in this lack of motivation. What could be those causes? Some of the top reasons are like they may have a lack of motivation is that because they are leaving things too open. Why? They kind of pick too many things at the same time, but they don't even complete one, and all of them are left open. So what happens? You get demotivated. I'm not able to complete anything. That's why we say that pick one at a time, maximum two, or pick one goal at a time, maximum two, right? When things are vague, the motivation will fade. That is a saying, right? Vague means you're not so precise, you're not so clear, you're not so decisive. What happens, right? Your decisions also will be of the same nature. So when you're unable to tap into the motivation, you need to succeed, right? It might be because whatever things you want to get motivated for you, it is too vague. Why? Because your planning is of that sort. You have not been a visionary, and therefore you need to get somebody's advice or guidance. Mentorship is needed, right? So many people ask this question: what are the different types of motivation that I could learn, right? um, there are three or four top types of motivation. See, the four or three or four motivations are like, they call it as extrinsic, intrinsic, extrinsic. You know that, right? Extrinsic motivation is the external sources. For example, it could be a simple social media. It could be somebody mentor outside your family, yeah, at your workplace, at schools or colleges. It could be an identified what is a motivation channel. For example, you have a specific person who is referred, and that person is going to help you, and you have a good introduction. And the next thing is intrinsic motivation. It means the internal source. Some people know they are already having this motivation, they have to just trigger it out, and for that only they have to put that efforts. You go and get them counseled or any medication, nothing works. It's already inside of them, only they have to make a decision and get that out. And the last thing is introjected, which means that internal source or non-action, which means you don't have to do anything much within you because you don't have it, right? That's your DNA. But you have to kind of interject and get that person motivated through various programs, events, and the parents will have to really figure out a way, right? Or the spouses have to figure out a way to help each other. Now, what is the general source of self motivation? Many people ask this question also. Self motivation can also be driven by through the different types: extrinsic, intrinsic, and introjected, and stuff like that. But the drive to achieve that comes from through like external resources such as money, power, status, recognition. These are some of the things in a company. You see that employee recognition program, employee engagement program, all those things. Why they conduct is because they want to give that source of motivation, that somebody is watching you, somebody is acknowledging it, and somebody, your efforts are not going in vain. You need to keep giving that feeling, you need to keep shooting that signals, right? You may be a parent, you need to shoot that signal to your children. You may be a spouse, you need to shoot that signal to your wife or husband, vice versa, right? These kind of signals are nothing but the human networking or human relationship, right? And although it's clear that intrinsic motivation is usually a kind of a more effective and fulfilling drive, but still people lack. Why? Because they don't do it progressively, right? They do it for one season, and they and stop it for another season. Therefore, that networking breaks up, kind of. The bridge is wide open, right? It's not able to travel. So that's what you need to take. Now, what is what is the actual definition of self motivation? We should have started with that, right? For many people, they have various crazy definitions. We will cover everything possibly. For some people, working longer is self motivation. If they work for a very long short time, oh, they are not motivated, I have not done anything. For some people, working according to the time, and they work too much, then they get demotivated. Why? See, I ended up working 12 hours now, look. So you need to really identify what kind of person you are, what type, which category you belong to. That matters, correct? No. Now the next thing is, for some people, learning new skills, like regular training courses, enrolling for a new program. Otherwise they get demotivated because they end up doing the same job, no growth, and stagnant. But some people, it's opposite. I keep on moving on with too many changes. I want to stay in one place. I want to stick to one course. I want to stick to one domain. For them, that is the motivation. So, which category you belong, only you know. So, you need to decide, right? For some people, taking ownership of problems. They cannot live without problems. They cannot live without solution. Namesake, they will say, hey, I'm too stressed and all that. But you leave them idle, they'll go mad. Seriously. For some people, always they want to be solution providers. That means they want problems. They want challenges, right? For some people, it's opposite. They don't want challenges. They want a static life, calm life. Why I should slog after all, right? Why I should really break my head? I don't want to face challenges. So which category you belong, you decide. For some people, they want to be team leaders. For some people, they want to be team players. For some people, they want to be independent or individual contributors. Either of these categories you belong, you identify what you want and what gives you that motivation, keeping you motivated and happy, right? Motivation, other definition is you stay joyful. Happiness is temporary, joyful is permanent, right? The incidents which travels in your life keeps you happy, and then it goes away. But joy stays ever, right? What sustains the joy in your heart is the kind of job you're doing, kind of work you're enrolled, what is your responsibility, what you preferred, what you picked up, what you made as a choice. That will tell that joy is going to travel with you, or it's going to kind of pass away somewhere in the middle of the journey. Then that is happiness. You thought it's going to make you happy, then you picked up a job, but over a period of time, as you traveled, you discovered, no, this is not something. Then you switch over, right? Somehow find that source which gives you joy and not happiness. The moment you feel that the happiness is turning to sadness, you need to really ensure that you make that paradigm shift. You need to make that corrective measures, right? Get into the corrective measures. Therefore your joy is sustained. You don't tend to be sad at all, and you don't get into the demotivation, and therefore you need to look for some other sources, right? In other words, the person who is so joyful is always self-motivated. Vice versa, those who are self-motivated, they always seem to be joyful, very happy all the time, right? Now, for some people, they go over and beyond their job description, right? They don't like to stick to their roles and responsibilities. I'm like that category. I belong to that category, because I don't like to stick to my roles. I want to do over and beyond for what I'm not designated, helping people and training people, coaching people. All that's not part of my job. So you need to find your source which makes you joyful, and that tells that you are a very, what to say, self-motivated person. Now, I have just two more things, and with that we'll close. How do I find self-motivation? Tricky question to answer. Okay, uh, there are multiple ways, right? Some of the ways which I already told. Simplify your goals and focus where your energy should go. Yeah, don't split your energy between 20 things, and ultimately you will feel empty. I did nothing. So just pick one, and therefore you stick to it, right? And break down larger goals into smaller subsets or steps, right? Therefore, in the smaller tasks. Therefore, one after the other, when you keep achieving it, ultimately the goal will be met. Therefore, what happens is you will have the feeling that, oh, I am accomplishing something, right? That's the beauty of breaking down into smaller tasks. When you get to cook in the kitchen, you don't manufacture everything immediately, or you don't cook everything immediately. Smaller things, you will cut the vegetables into small pieces, keep it separately. You will take all this masala, keep it separately. You will take this non-vegetarian stuff and keep it separately. Then you slowly mix up everything, then you make it. So what happens is, before you reach to that main goal of mixing everything, the smaller tasks are being done, right? That gives you that feeling, that confidence, and you will be able to do it, right? That's exactly what you're supposed to practice. and be always, have that habit of gelling with the supportive people, people who are very dynamic. They have ideas. You have 10 idiots versus one intellectual person. Go for what, 10 idiots, huh? No, one intellectual person. Quantitative thing doesn't matter. I have 10 friends but all 10 are idiots. I have only one guy, but he will lead me correctly. Good mentor. Just stick to that. That will allow you to go on and on with your journey in terms of motivation, right? Ask for help is something that you shouldn't be thinking twice. Introverts, make a note of it. Introverts are the ones who will always get self motivated because they don't like to ask for help. And about introvert and extrovert, we did another session. You may go there and you may come back, right? And practice that gratitude, attitude of gratitude. These are all common nomenclatures. Have that thankful attitude. When you thank somebody, you will feel that you motivate, because there is something that happens in the human heart, right? Those are all experiences that you can only feel. It can't be explained. So that's why we are telling this time and again. Get enough rest, get good sleep. These are some of the tips where you can find ways to self motivated, right? Now another important thing is, very important question: how do I stay motivated during my difficult times? Very important. These tips may not work, whatever I've told you. These are like regular practices, but especially during a tough time you need an emergency fix. Now how do I do that, right? There are a few simple ways to do that. See, know one thing, that no situation is permanent situation. Every situation has got an expiry date, right? Troublesome situations, especially hardships, the problems that you face in life, it has an expiry date. It has to pass away someday. Think like that twice, thrice, 10 times. You will feel immediately energized. Try it out and see, right? That's one technique. Second thing is, there is a reason behind that incident which has came, right? Try to dig for that reason. Now if you don't find the reason, don't ever go and dig too much. Why? Because for many of the problems there is no reason. It just happens and you just cannot find the reason. And what happens is, since you are not finding the reason, that itself becomes a stress. So don't press too hard in that direction of finding a purpose, finding a reason why this happened, why me, why not others, and all that. Don't ask too many questions. Stay calm, because you know definitely this is going to pass away. It has an expiry date. Then why are you concerned, right? Then the third important thing is, take a break from your worries. Distract yourself in something else, right? That situation is there, it's troubling you, it's demotivating you. Then find an alternate. You replace it. That's another technique. Replacement technique is a very good technique. You find for some other source which can give you that joy, which can give you that happiness, which can make you feel relieved, relaxed, right? When you are already demotivated, don't go and watch a horror movie. That will make you even more horrible. So find, make the right choice, right? I have to make everything very clear and obvious. Therefore, you don't get confused. You're already in a confused state probably. Now, love yourself. Don't hate yourself because you have done that mistake, that blunder. Don't hate yourself. Oh, how can I do that? And some people start punching themselves and hitting their head against the wall. You have not done either of this. Don't try it. I'm just telling you, some people are crazy. So you need to make a note of all these things. Lastly, pursue a passion, right? Pursue a passion, right? Passion means something that you love to deliver, something that you had been thinking for a very long time, right? It could be a sport, it could be music, it could be anything related to teaching. You want to be a good teacher, right? You find your ways. There is a social media platform, you can definitely find your ways. All right. With this, I would like to conclude. It's a very short session, but I hope it was very useful. We discussed through many aspects of what it takes for self-motivation and what stops us not to be self-motivated and how to overcome. That's exactly what we are trying to do in each session. Okay. God bless you. Stay safe, stay healthy, follow all the pandemic rules. Otherwise, you're going to get caught in the corona. And yeah, it's going to be terrible. So don't roam around unnecessarily. Please stay safe and stay calm. I will soon meet you with a different session. Until then, goodbye. Take care.